Welcome to the 4Q podcast. My name is Sheena Shui. I have a Bachelor of Psychology, Masters of Counselling, and Masters of Social Work. My aim is to normalise rather than pathologise life. And in this podcast, we talk all things therapy, women's mental health, leadership, and business. So if you're ready to learn some tips, tricks, and hear some amazing stories to really amplify your life and your business, let's get into it. Welcome again to the 4Q podcast. Welcome back. I am so happy that you're here. Today, we are going to talk about my top tip for relationships. And before we get into that, I came to this because those of you who follow me on social media have seen that I've been putting some polls up about what you need support with, what content that you need. So number one for most of you was burnout, but the number two topic was support around your relationships. Now, my top tip as somebody who works with couples on the regular is having a check-in. Now, before you roll your eyes and go, well, that's simple, like that's too simple. This check-in is actually a structured conversation that you have with your partner on a basis that you can stick with. So I'm talking, you can stick with it weekly, do that. If you can stick with it fortnightly, do that. If you can stick with it monthly, do that. But it's a conversation where you check in on 4 key elements, which I'll get to in a moment. But you check in on these 4 key elements, and then you do that on a regular, consistent basis. So it's a structured conversation. And I guess the mistake that I see with this is that people think, oh, I checked in with my partner. I said, how did you feel about XYZ? Or how did you feel about something when you're in it? Or they feel like they checked in with them during a fight, like talking about it when they're arguing about it or discussing it in a really heated way. That's not a check-in. So when I talk a check-in, like I mentioned, there's 4 key elements that are part of our 4C formula that we use for couples. Now, again, I want to make it clear that this is unique to Savasana Collective, my private practice. So couples counsellors, we're all going to work differently. There's many overlapping elements, but we all have our signature ways of working with people. And this is one of our signature methods, this 4C method, because we find that this is really effective to make sure that the areas of a relationship are all checked in on. So the 4 key areas are cause, cares, communication, and consummation. Now, basically what that means is we're checking in on our values, and are we living in alignment with our values? Are we feeling like we're working towards the better, bigger version of ourselves? Cares is, are we working towards the same vision, the same goals? So having individual goals, but working towards them together as well. So you're going to have goals that are both individual to you, but also together as a couple. Communication is pretty clear, but that's also, have we been talking with each other's love languages? Have we been noticing our attachment styles kicking in? So, have I been leaning in too much? Have I been too codependent lately? Have I been feeling really clingy? Or for your partner's sake, they might be feeling like they haven't been leaning in enough. Maybe they've been retreating during difficult discussions, or they haven't been maybe investing enough time into the relationship, whatever that looks like. So communication. And finally, consummation, which is about your intimacy and sex. How has your sex life been? How has your intimacy been? That holding hands, kissing, the non-verbal communication between you. How has that element of the relationship been? So how you would do this is you set a check-in time, which you will mark in your phones. You'll have a reminder. You'll put it in your calendars, however that works for you, but a visual reminder for both of you to do this. And again, setting it at a time you can actually stick to. So, if you've got young kids like myself, sometimes you kind of have to go with it when there's an opportunity. So let's say you want to do this at the start of the week on a Sunday. You might have to say, okay, our kids' first nap time of the day, let's make a point of sitting down for half an hour, making a coffee, making a tea, sitting down and talking about how our relationship's looking at the moment. And also, is there anything that we need to support each other with in this coming week? What does the coming week look like? What things have I got on this week? What days will you do dinner? Really breaking it down so there's no miscommunications through the week, but also genuinely checking in with each other's emotions. How are you this week? What's been going on for you? We often get so caught up with the kids or bills or finances or, the mess in the house, like the monotonous day-to-day, that we do often forget to check in with our partner's emotions too around what's going on at work. How did that issue go? Did you resolve it? Who's your work bestie? Who's the person at work that annoys you the most? What's the biggest issue going on? Really being involved in each other's lives and being there for each other to remind each other, if your future vision is you want to invest in real estate and have passive income so you can both work part-time, or maybe one of you gets to stay at home and the other one works, or whatever that looks like, you can be there for each other to go, I know it's hard right now, but remember our future vision. We're on track. We're going to get there. And this feeling and this isn't going to be forever. So reminding each other of that can be so helpful. It really is an opportunity to be each other's best friends, because that's really easy at the start of the relationship where it's romantic and fun, but that can get lost along the way. So having a weekly, fortnightly or monthly check-in where you check in with each other's emotions, you check in with what are the chores, what are the routines we need to do this week, but then also checking in on how are you feeling? Are you feeling like you're living your best potential? Have you been living in alignment with your core values? So again, if you know that your husband or partner or your wife's, core value is integrity, that's one of them. Do you feel like you're living in integrity? Has there anything been compromising that lately? Because when we act out of alignment with our core values, it really ruptures us. So for example, if our core value is integrity and there's a project at work where our boss has said, hey, can you just not mention all the elements to this person? Or let's just hold back the details of that to everyone. Or, maybe painting a picture a little bit differently to what it is, and your core value is integrity, you're going to feel out of alignment, off, because you're not being true to yourself. You're not picking your identity. In Atomic Habits with James Clear, we talk about our habits either align with the identity that we want or misalign. And when they don't align, we feel really off, right? Like we're being fake, like we're not being true to ourselves. So again, if you don't know what your core values are, if you come through our practice, we will help you figure that out. Or we have our values card inside our free resource library. Because again, people get these core values wrong. They think motherhood's a value. Business is a value. Health is a value. Now, don't get me wrong. They are things that we value. They're important to us. But that's something that we do. That's not a core value. A core value is a virtue of the identity that we want to have and the legacy we want to leave. When people describe us when we're 80, 90 at our, obituary. We want to be described as someone who lived with love or integrity, honesty, freedom. They always chased a life full of freedom and love, looking back on your life, so getting that clear. And so when you're checking in with your partner, that's an opportunity to go, I just feel like I haven't been living in alignment this week or this fortnight or this month. This project really pushed me off track, or this situation with my mum made me act like I didn't want to, or the friendship, whatever it is. Then you've got your cares, right? So cares is around your future vision together and your individual vision as well. So checking in on how are we on track? Is there something that's held us back, or has that vision changed? You might say, the more and more I think about it, I actually don't want to move. I'm actually really liking it here. Maybe your vision was that you wanted to move to a different country, or you wanted to move to a different suburb, but you're actually finding that you're really liking it. And that's okay. So it's an opportunity to say, hey, this is what my vision is. Or maybe you had a plan that you wanted to try to get your business to a point where you could quit your job at the end of the year. But maybe there's a new job opportunity that you actually are excited about and that you love. And so it's, again, an opportunity to say, look, I know we talked about this, but this is what I'm thinking. What are your thoughts? Having that open discussion. How do you feel about that? Has anything changed from the last time we've had this check-in? Using that as an opportunity. So we've got cause, cares, then communication. So checking in with each other, have we felt connected this week? On a scale of 1 to 10, how has the communication been? Have you been speaking in my love language? Have you been spending time with me if it's quality time? Have you been holding my hand, giving me kisses, offering me physical affection if it's physical touch? Offering me compliments, sending me texts through the day, telling me I'm doing a good job if it's words of affirmation. So checking in with, are we aligning there? If there was conflict through the week, or maybe you snapped at each other because you were tired or exhausted, it happens. How did you handle that? Just say, I noticed that you were really distant this week, and we've talked about our attachment styles, because again, when you come through our practice and we figure out your attachment styles, you're able to notice one partner might typically lean out, one partner might typically lean in, depending on their attachment style. So it can be helpful to say, hey, I noticed that you retreated, you pulled away, you went into your cave when this thing happened, and I felt really disconnected from you. And it actually made me quite anxious, which is why I was, leaning in. Maybe I felt like I did overreact in a certain circumstance. Again, not blaming the other person, but acknowledging your behaviors, your communication, non-verbal, verbal, your actions this week. So again, checking in on the communication, as well as, communicating about how have we been talking with the children? What are we modeling to the kids? If kids are part of your life, asking yourselves, are we happy with what we're modeling at the moment? Then the final area is the intimacy, consummation, sex and intimacy. Have you been feeling attracted to each other? What do you need from each other? Have you had an opportunity to have sex? Have you had an opportunity to do something different? Have you articulated your sexual needs or fantasies in the bedroom? So we all have things that we would like, things that we don't like, certain preferences. And again, if you're a parent, that changes a bit because you kind of have to take opportunities as they come, but also you're tired. So you might not feel always up to it when it's, the kids have finally gone to bed after a really long day. But it's an opportunity to communicate about how can we at least create an opportunity to be intimate. Do we need to get babysitters and have a date night? Do we need to, drop the kids off somewhere so we can have some alone time? Or can I knock off work early and meet you? Really being comfortable with having those conversations, being comfortable with saying, hey, the last few times we've had sex, I really didn't enjoy it and it's making me avoid it more and more. Or you're putting too much pressure on me and now I feel more and more withdrawing from sex. So saying that and actually saying, look, I need foreplay if you want me to be interested, or I need you to kiss me, or I, need you to compliment me and make me feel wanted if you're going to have sex. Don't hit me up when we've just had an argument because I'm not going to be interested. It's really getting yourselves comfortable with having open dialect about your sexual relationship, because sex is a really important part of a relationship. And again, there's two kinds of couples therapists out there. There tends to be this idea that there's two kinds. There's ones who feel like having a good sex life will improve the relationship. So it's sort of like that kind of a way. Like if you increase your intimacy, increase your sex, increase your nonverbal connection, that soul connection, that the relationship will flow easier. And then there's ones that go, the sex life is a reflection of the relationship, in that if you improve the relationship, sex will just flow. And regardless of which way you want to look at it, making a point of trying to prioritize sex and intimacy, wants and needs, having a safe space to explore sexual desires or fantasies or things you want to try that maybe you haven't, is really important. So, if you want to try this check-in tool, I actually have a free handout, again, in the free resource library, and I'll put the link in the show notes for the free resource library. There's 2 check-in tools in there. One is for yourself. That's a holistic check-in tool, but there is a relationship check-in tool called the Heart and Soul check-in. Use that. It gives you a rough guideline, and hopefully after listening to this podcast, it'll make sense to you how to use that tool. Or better yet, if you actually want to learn how to do one of these exercises, feel free to connect with us and look at our couples counseling and coaching packages, because we have VIP days where if you just want to have a day where you work on everything because it's just too hard to get both of you on board to come to weekly appointments, that's what we do. We tend to know that there's always one partner who drags their feet. So while the iron's hot, let's just bang it out in a VIP day and get it done. But of course, if you want to look at our other services, feel free, because often doing the one-on-one work on yourself can really help with the relationship too. So thank you for being here. I hope that this was a really helpful episode for you, getting you thinking about how can you do this one top tip to improve your relationship. Because honestly, the couples who don't check in are the ones that say, oh, that divorce came out of nowhere. You don't want to end up there, right? All right, I hope this episode was awesome for you. Please let me know if it was. I always love hearing your feedback. You can hit me up on social media, and I will see you for the next episode of the 4Q podcast. Bye for now.